Hello, this is Mr. Praveen. Welcome to .NET C# training. So here is the session 2 agenda items. So session 2 agenda items is mainly exploring the different .NET Core components. So it's all about exploring the components of .NET Core. So we have something called as CoreCLR, which is nothing but common language runtime. CoreFX base class libraries, RyuJIT compiler, just-in-time compiler, .NET Standard, umbrella term in .NET Core, or components like, and we also go through the .NET Core CLI, command line interface, NuGet packages, and garbage collectors as well. And also we'll go through what are the .NET Core features we have, and also we'll go through the lab demos in terms of creating simple console application using command line interface. We'll go through the .NET Core framework class libraries like nothing but CoreFX and NuGet packages and .NET standards. So we'll also this is all about exploring the components in terms of the real-time demo projects as well. Okay, demo programmings as well. So let's get started. So here are the .NET components. Like we have the main components of .NET Core is .NET CLR. So Core common language runtime is responsible, it's a runtime engine to execute our programs whichever we have written in C#. It is going to execute that one with all the managed code, and it is going to have the garbage collections and exception handling and type safety. So the total common language runtime will be totally take care of the memory management and execution of the particular programs as well. Okay, so the core components will have the core FXR, like in the base class libraries, whatever the libraries required for the particular program to execute. So it is going to hold all the base class libraries, like that could be your system.io, system.net, and LinkU or trading or whatever. All this particular, it supplies the base class libraries. Okay, so let me connect to my tab and explore each and every components in detail, so that will be more efficient. One second. Yeah, it's got connected. So let me write it down. So today is mainly about .NET Core components. Okay, I think, is it visible? This is .NET Core components. So in this particular .NET Core components, like we'll see each and every component in detail. We have languages. Okay, let me draw the box. Okay, so in the languages we have C#.NET, VB.NET, okay, J#, F#, okay, several languages. This framework support .NET Core components, like we have these particular languages. So C# is your primary focus, like C# 10.0 is our main goal. So C# 10.0. Okay, in terms of, like I said, like this particular .NET Core components are very much user friendly with respect to the cloud friendly, and it's IoT, MI, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, right? So this particular C# is the combination of object oriented programming plus solid principles. Okay, solid principles will help you to more interact with the cloud. It's more user friendly with respect to the cloud environment. Okay, so that will user friendly to cloud. So if you are basic to cloud and doesn't know what is cloud, example, like I can give you, like in your mobile, like if your memory is too much, like if your MN is full up, like if your phone memory is full and you wanted to still store your images in the cloud, you will go to the Dropbox and you will have some cloud environment, search for some cloud environment, and you will you'll store all your images onto the cloud environment, right? So similarly, like you have this particular cloud, similarly you will have something called as containers, Dockers and Kubernetes. Okay, Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, I think this is not visible properly. Yeah, but still, yeah, Docker and Kubernetes container and like microservices. Okay. So with these particular solid principles, like we can develop something user friendly to the cloud, which are nothing but the containers or microservices, like solid principles, which are very good, very powerful in terms of your modern cloud based technologies, or like Kubernetes and Dockers and microservices as well. Solid principles are like, if you wanted to, basics of solid principles are it comes with the single responsibility, open closed, LISCO, independent, like I is for nothing but dependency inversion, interface segregation, and D for dependency segregation. Okay, this will get into more details while we are getting into this advanced concept with respect to the C sharp as well. Okay, for now you understand, like these are the solid principles which we can develop user friendly code like container and microservices. Okay, and we'll within this component, like we have something called as common type systems and common language specifications. Common type systems and common language specifications. The common type systems, like we will get more details like in terms of when we get into the data types, but common type systems is like you have value types and reference types. So value types or reference types, like when the data types has been declared, like it will be either into the stack or heap. So we'll get more details in the coming sessions. Like common type systems, we have something called as value types and reference types, and this particular, using this particular common type systems, like we can run those particular code in any of these particular languages, any particular platforms. We call that as one as language interoperability. Okay, language like interoperability. So using these common type systems, like whenever you write integer I or dim a as dim a as integer in in VB.NET, either whichever the language syntax you write, either in C sharp or VB.NET, it will convert it to the MSIL code, and this particular MSIL code can be run in any of the platforms, like in terms of C sharp.NET, like in terms of your any of the operating systems, of in terms of the Windows or Linux or anything, that I can call that as the like the platform independent. Okay, and this makes this platform independent. So MSIL can be run in any of the platform. Okay, whether it could be or Windows or OX or Linux. Okay, this is okay. I'll write down here Linux. So MSIL code, like MSIL code can run in any of the OS systems, and I call this as the platform independent. Okay, so that is nothing but your common type systems and common language specific. In common type systems, like you will have the value types and reference type. Common language specifications are nothing but the certain let of standards, like when we write a method, we write within that particular class, and that particular class is wrapped on that particular on the top. We will have this particular namespace, and that particular namespace is again built to the assembly. So in that particular format, we'll follow certain specifications or standard. We'll call them as the common language specifications. So that makes this particular common language and common type systems and common language specifications make that particular .NET core component to be has the language independent, platform independent, so nothing but the it can run on any of the OS, either it could be a Windows or Linux, and this is called language interoperability. So since it can run in any of the platform, okay. And in this particular thing, like after that you will have web, Windows, mobile, okay. In earlier, like we developed in .NET Core, like we we call this as the MVC core forms, okay. MVC forms, core MVC forms, which is of CS.cshtml. Here the extension is .cshtml form. So earlier, like in .NET framework, we developed something called as web forms. So web forms is .axp extension. So this is web forms do not have this particular user friendly with respect to the cloud, but MVC forms are razor forms. These are very user friendly with respect to the cloud, okay. So these are very popular in terms of the present web development. So razor forms are the MVC core MVC forms are very very popular in this particular point of time, okay. So in Windows, like in Windows we have something called as web forms earlier, which is the .NET framework, okay. This is not in our scope of which is not in our scope right now, but we need to what we and we also call WPF forms, okay, earlier with respect to the .NET framework. Now that we are having something called as UA UA UWP. UWP is nothing but Universal Windows Platform. Universal Windows presentation, okay. So this is very rich UI, like consider like in terms of your rich URL, which are you can simply take like whichever the UIs which are touch screens, or whichever the latest UI rich UIs that we are developing, like which are very popular, which is nothing but the Universal Windows presentation. Like earlier in web forms and WPF forms, we do not have that, okay. And mobile, like Xamarin, like it is very modern in terms of the Xamarin, okay. Mobile Xamarin, okay. I hope you like what we are developing in web, Windows and mobiles by using the .NET core components, okay. Now in terms of the other things, like we have core FX. In core FX, it is nothing but we called as core base class libraries, okay. And we will have something called as NuGets as well, NuGet packages. So whatever the applications we are trying to develop at, we wanted to develop everything. The base class libraries are within this particular core FX. Core FX is nothing but .NET Core framework class libraries. So nothing but your system dot data system your system or system dot data or system.io, system.threading, everything like those are nothing but core base class libraries. So same base class libraries might be there in your .NET frameworks also, but this is not like with respect to the copy and paste with respect to the base class libraries, but we have re-implemented this particular core libraries again to with respect to that matches to the best with respect to the modern development, like the razor pages, like the MVC forms and all, okay. Again in the core effects, like we also something called as .NET standards. So .NET standards, the latest version is 2.0. So .NET standards, like whatever the base class libraries we have developed in .NET framework may not be compatible with respect to the .NET core. And whatever the .NET core framework base class libraries that we have developed, that might be not compatible with respect to the .NET framework. So .NET base class, it's all about the bringing the bridge between the .NET Core and the .NET Framework. So base class libraries are nothing but basically like if you wanted to use any of the libraries, you wanted to develop some libraries and you reuse that certain set of libraries for reusability, I will be using the base class libraries. And these particular base class libraries may not be compatible with respect to the lower versions and the higher versions. So nothing but whatever the base class libraries that has been developed in .NET framework that might be not compatible or not support with respect to the .NET Core. And whatever the .NET Core base class libraries developed in .NET Core will not be compatible with respect to the .NET framework. So to fix that issue, like we have the .NET standards. Now, when you develop a base class library using .NET standards, so that will be compatible with respect to the .NET framework and .NET Core. Okay, that's the main advantage of using the .NET standards. In this particular session, we'll go through that particular demo as well. Okay, now that you understand like CoreFX and .NET standards, and we'll have the Core CLR. Core CLR will have two compilers like Roslyn, ROSLYN compiler, RyuJIT compiler. Okay, Roslyn compiler is like the, let me write over here. It's the Roslyn compiler is for the build process. Whatever the build process whatever the code that you have written in CLR, if it will converted, your C# code will be converted to MSL code, right? Using a certain compiler. So that compiler is nothing but the Roslyn compiler. Okay, it's a build process to convert your C# to MSIL code. Whereas in the JIT compiler is nothing but the just-in-time compiler which converts the MSIL code to machine language code. Your machine language is nothing but this is not visible here. So let me write here, machine language. Okay. The handwriting might be not clear, but if you can note it down, it is nothing but the machine language here. So it will convert it to zeros and ones. Okay. Okay. So Core CLR is to the main functionality, the main engine of this particular Core CLR is to execute your programming using the Roslyn compiler and RyuJIT compiler. So JIT, just-in-time compiler, is like the MSIL code, like it will convert your it will convert Roslyn JIT just-in-time compiler will convert your MSIL code to your machine language code as well. So that's the main functionality. Okay. If you want me to show me the folder paths of this particular Core CLR also, I can show you. Okay. C drive, program files. Okay, .NET shade. Where is shade here? Yes, shade. .NET Core, ASP.NET Core. Okay. .NET 8.0. See here, you'll have CLR, JIT. Okay. Core CLR .dll. This is your path of your 8.0 CLR. Okay, our 8.0 is our latest framework of .NET Core. Okay, and you will have something called a CLR JIT.dll. Okay, garbage collector. So it will handle the memory exception and everything. Okay, here you'll have this particular Core CLR, like it will have the Roslyn and just-in-time compiler as well. So here is the list of the all the core effects, like you might be having this particular system.data.dll, system.core.dll, console.dll. All these particular DLLs are nothing but the readily made certain built-in core libraries that we can start using them, and you can create your applications as well. Okay, this is nothing but your core effects, nothing but the core libraries, base class libraries. Okay. Okay, let me connect back. Okay, so here if you get this particular thing correctly, like we are in this particular Core CLR, like Core CLR, you have the Roslyn and RyuJIT compiler, and we have this particular garbage collector. Garbage collector is mainly for for exception handling. Okay, for managed and unmanaged code, to manage unmanaged code. And it is basically for memory management. See, whatever the data types what we declare in this particular C sharp, so that is broadly classified into value types and reference types. So if it is like in this particular, like if it is a value type, it is goes on the stack, and it is a reference type, it is goes if it is a reference type, it will go on the heap as well. So this particular memory management is totally taken by the garbage collector. Collector can be uh, called explicitly, or it can be implicitly also. It will take care of it. Implicitly, something like it automatically, it will unused object is going to collect the unused objects, and it is going to dispose that particular unused object. Explicitly also, nothing you have to, or nothing but you will also explicitly write in our programs to to collect that particular unused objects and dispose that particular unused objects. So you hope you understand the complete structure in terms of your .NET Core. This is the complete thing. Uh, so each and everything is clear to you. Like let me walk through you. Like let me have a check on this. Yeah. Let me get to the CoreFX. Okay. CoreFX is like you have the base class libraries, core libraries like system.io, like threading or link queue, etc. Okay, you have the like set of libraries, something like if you wanted to work with the IO, like some input output, like if you wanted to write certain file to the external text file or Excel file or something to the to your operating system or your external local folder, I will be using this particular system.io. So link you is to write some data to your database. Okay, so in that particular, like you have all this particular inbuilt functionalities in your .NET Core FX. Okay, not core. This is here Core FX. Okay, and you may have this particular NuGet packages also. Okay, NuGet packages are something like there might be all makes all the particular DLLs. If I give all the DLLs which are in the core FX, then that will be heavy for that particular core FX, right? So NuGet packages like something like you can download from the external sources also. So that we called as the NuGet packages, something like Newton Newton soft .dll. Some I will go through that particular demo in this particular session, so that it will be clear. So some nothing but like instead of storing everything the libraries in one particular place, like you can store that into the NuGet packages, so that when we can directly download that particular NuGet packages and use in your applications to make your application lightweight. Okay, I hope you understand everything. Like uh, everything, like all this particular thing, like you, if it is like a little bit complex, I'm going to write, let me write some formula. Let me write something like this. Your .NET core is equal to, if you wanted to remember in a straightforward way, okay, core fx, nothing but the core base class libraries, plus core CLR, nothing but common language runtime, core common language runtime, plus .NET standards. Okay, .NET standard, like uh, This is the basic formula. If you can remember this basic formula, that will be more useful. But understand each and every terminology. After you understand this particular terminology, like getting into the C sharp development process is very easy. So once you get the core components and you understand what you're trying to do and what is our which particular frameworks and all, that will be more efficient. Okay. So .NET Core is nothing but .NET Core FX. Core FX is nothing but framework class library, framework class library, and core CLR and .NET standards. And the .NET framework is equal to base class libraries plus CLR. So core like .NET Core 8 is the latest framework. Okay. And we are going to work with .NET Core 8 and framework is 4.8. So the latest version in .NET Framework was 4.8 and .NET 8 is the latest version. Okay, and C Sharp the latest version is 10.0. So C Sharp is nothing but object-oriented programming plus solid principles plus async await which is nothing but task parallel library. Okay, if you see, I am going to write here task parallel library. So this will help you to understand in much more better way. So now that we with all this particular .NET Core 8 and framework 4.8 and C Sharp, everything comes with respect to Visual Studio 2022. So 2022 is nothing but .NET Core 8 plus C Sharp 10.0. So versions might be a little bit confusing, but understand like our main aim is to work with .NET Framework, .NET Core 8 and Visual Studio 2022 and C Sharp 10.0. So all this particular ecosystem, .NET ecosystem. So I can call this ecosystem as .NET umbrella. Okay, so you understand the .NET umbrella and you understand like what are the .NET features, .NET Core features. So the first feature is like the cross-platform. Because of the CLR, this particular MSL code can run in any of the platforms, either in terms of your in your Windows or Linux or whichever the operating system. I call this as the cross-platform. And this particular common types, because of common types and common language specifications, that made to have language interoperability. So nothing but I can whatever the develop base class libraries that I have developed in C Sharp, I can use that in the VB.NET also. So in that particular terminology, I can call that particular thing as the language interoperability. So because of this particular compilers and just-in-time compilers, RISO compilers, this made high performance. Okay, high performance, and we have modular, lightweight. So because of this particular NuGet packages, we are not downloading each and every DLL directly, right? So we are using the NuGet packages and we are downloading whichever the packages that we wanted, whichever the core base class libraries or the core effects that we wanted. I can use that and I can have the future of lightweight functionality. Okay, and also side by side execution. Side-by-side execution, you can also develop .NET framework and we can also develop the .NET Core applications also. Nothing but we developed in the last session, we have developed one of the application like in .NET 4 framework and we also developed in the .NET Core also, right? So, and we have seen how that particular compiler that executes in the CLR and the core CLR. So nothing but we have seen like how it executes line by line. Okay, so we'll discuss more in the PPT on this particular .NET features, but I hope you understand the whole ecosystem. This particular whole ecosystem is nothing but the .NET umbrella, I call it as. Now, like in terms of this particular main component, like I have the languages, common type system, common language specifications, and we understand like how that particular C# 10.0 is going to be more popular because it is going to be supporting the solid principles, and it is user friendly by writing container codes. Like if you wanted to know what is container, like it is having all the dependency files, like in terms of your DLLs or the packages or any of the files. That is nothing but the all the dependency files, whichever the program needs to be executed. All this particular dependency files are kept in this particular container. Nothing but like simple like .cs core project or your solution file, your .cs project file. It will contain all the dependencies of that particular of that application to be run, right? So similarly, we have something called as container. So container like Dockers and Kubernetes will have this particular all the excuse me. Yeah, nothing but the container will have the all the dependencies of that particular packages to be filed to one particular area, and it will execute your program. Okay, so that kind of a facility that we can develop using the solid principles and microservices as well. And if you can see that you in the common type systems and common language specifications, like we have the language value types and reference types, and which makes the language interoperability and platform independent using the MSL code as well. And in the all this like in the web and in the Windows, we have seen what is the latest. Like in the web, like we have Razor forms right now, which is very popular. And in coming to the Windows, you'll have the universal Windows presentation forms, like which is very popular right now. And .NET standards, like latest version is 2.0. Okay, so I hope you understand the complete ecosystem of this particular .NET Core. Now let's do some examples, like in terms of the command line interface. Like we have something called as, we can develop this particular application using the command line interface, not just in the Visual Studio, go to this particular Visual Studio and create this particular new project and build and run and all this stuff. I can use this particular command line interface to do that applications also, which is nothing but which we call that as command line interface. Let me do some of the examples as well. Okay, let me connect to my Visual Studio. Okay, I'll go without using Visual Studio, we'll do that. Okay, command line interface, like here is my folder path. Okay, earlier we have seen how this particular programs has Hello World core and Hello World framework. We have seen how is particular side by side execution of this particular programs. Okay, now let me create this particular without using Visual Studio, or we can use this particular developer command prompt in the Visual Studio 2022. Let me use that and create this particular new project. Okay, so first step would be like change the directory whichever you wanted to create this particular the program. Okay, if you wanted to see what are the uh, we have, what commands we have, if you can see, you can add a new package refers to your particular product. Okay, you can add a project and you can build, you have this particular command to build, and you have list ms build, you have the NuGet package, you can remove, and you can run this as well. Okay, you have this particular run command as well, run. Okay, let me create a new project, new console application using this particular CLI command. Okay, .NET new console, my console app. So .NET new is new that we have, like we have the new command to create a new project. Okay, so it will have this new, and I'm saying that this is the compile console application, and to create this, and I'm giving the that particular console app, name of that particular console app. Okay. See, my console application has been created successfully. If you go and open this particular folder, like if you see the, excuse me, I have a little bit cough today. Yeah, if you can see, like if it is the program.cs class file is created and bin, and if you can see, like if you can see all this particular, all the project is being created for us. Okay, .cs project file. Now I'm going to, and I'm going to run this particular thing, like I'm going to change this directory to the main. Okay, and I wanted to run this, so since I wanted to run this, I'm going to the program.cs class file. Okay, the class file is in the my console app, right? Okay, now I got this particular thing. Okay, run. Now I'm going to run this. It is taking some time. Yeah, so it is giving me hello world. So if you can see, like it is by default, like when you create, then the program.cs will be having that console.write line hello world. Okay, so if you wanted, like if you wanted to see once again, I wanted to save this hello world ran using command line interface, and I'm going to save this file. So this is just to make you to, we have all this particular build and run everything using this particular uh, Visual Studio 2022 also, but this is make you to understand you have something called as command line interface, command prompt to make use of command line interface and make it can create the new projects and build it and run this. You have something called as ms build, and you can also publish this. Okay, everything you can do over here using this particular command line interface. Okay, now get to another demo. Okay, what we have for the next demo, like, yeah, CoreFX. Let me create a particular project using the core. I wanted to use some of the library in the CoreFX, and I wanted to simply write a particular text to the particular notepad, and I wanted to save that. Okay, now let do that. Okay, next you'll do the NuGet packages and .NET standards as well. So in this particular folder, I'm going to create this particular. Okay, I'm going to create new project, and I'm going to give this particular console. I'm going to create a console application in the using .NET Core. Okay, and I'm giving this particular name as console app demo. It is for demo FX. FX is nothing but CoreFX is nothing but .NET Core base class libraries. Okay, let me choose the folder path as well. Okay, I created this particular console app demo FX. Okay, it is taking some time. Yeah. Yeah, I got to this particular thing, like you have the program.cs class file. Here I'm going to use some of the core effects in using some, let's say, using system.io. IO is nothing but I wanted to you do some input and output operations. In this particular 8.0, you will not have the program dot class file. Program dot you do not have the public static void main like you don't have anything like you can write some classes over here. You can directly write the classes over here. Now that if you are confused a little bit, now imagine that it is already in this particular lines of code is already there in this particular your main method. Okay, you don't have the main method here. You just directly like it will execute from here. Okay, simple terms like if you in .NET 8 you don't have the main method, it could directly runs over here. Instead of having the public static void main everything, you can write a method here. I can public static method name. Okay, okay, you cannot have the public over here. Okay, you can make so it can have this particular return type. I can call this particular method from here in this particular main method. Okay, imagine this is the main method for you. Okay, so something like this. Okay, I hope you understand. Like now, this is the main method here. From the main method, you can write you can write your static members, static methods, and you can call that particular methods from this particular thing. Okay. Now let me write this particular. Let me write a particular method here. So let me take this example here itself. Okay. Write data to text file. So I'm going to write this particular method which takes a particular string. Let's say it takes a string str file path. Let me declare that string. Sample.txt. Okay. Okay. System dot. Simply, I wanted to make sure like you understand this program. I'm writing the system.io. Okay. System.io dot file dot write all text to. You can specify the string path as the file path. And the file content translate, let's say test data to export to send data to text file. So something I'm writing here. Okay. So if you want to, since I already used this system.io, so I am not going to use over here, but I wanted to make sure like if you understand like you have something called as CoreFX library. Okay, now you understand there is a something called as CoreFX library, and it doesn't need required, and it is having this particular okay file path sample. If it is going to create a particular sample.txt file, and it is going to write this data. Okay, test to send data to text file. Okay, console dot write line close done. Okay, if you wanted to put a debugger over here, you can put the debugger. When it comes over here, it has this is the main method. It will come and it is this particular main method first. Okay, this is the main method, like it is having that sample.txt has a string content. So now that it is calling this particular main method, this particular method write data to text file. Okay, now if you wanted to see, like you have used a CoreFX library system.io and you have created this sample.txt. Like if you can go over here, bin debug 8.0, you have file created. See, if you can open this file, if you see test to send data to the txt. Okay, so we have used some library of CoreFX and we have made it to run that particular application, and we have sent the data using the system.io. So this is not the base class library of .NET framework. This is the base class library of .NET Core, which is nothing but CoreFX library. Okay, I hope you understand. Let me demo you the other thing. Like if I wanted to have this particular library is already there in the CoreFX, but there is some libraries are present in the NuGet packages. For example, if I write a particular class like person, I wanted to write a class person which is having particular properties like string name, string age. So I wanted to get a setter of this particular thing. Let me do that. Get that. Okay. Here also. So is that anything wrong over here? Okay, get set. I wanted to use the same here. Okay. I have this particular person name and I wanted to convert this particular person to a particular JSON object, and that particular we do not have that particular library in the CoreFX, and I will show you that. I will write another method. Convert to JSON. So JSON. So nothing but I'm just writing a method to convert this particular person class to JSON. So what I will do is like create an instance to this particular class. Obj dot name. So name is not visible here. Let me make this public. Okay. Dot name is equal to some name. Obj dot age is equal to, that's a 29. This is integer. Okay. Now I wanted to convert this. Now I wanted to convert this into the JSON. So I will say string JSON is equal to, okay. So I have this called JSON convert. So I do not have this particular. If I wanted to use this particular thing, I can go and I can bring that particular JSON NuGet package over here. So I'm going to install the Newton JSON using the NuGet package. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to use the using Newton soft. Okay. Now that particular I can use this Newton soft that I exported using this particular that I using the NuGet package. Okay, JSON dot convert dot serialize dot obj. So in this particular thing, I can directly use the DLLs or the base class libraries using the NuGet packages. Okay, is that anything wrong here? Okay, now I'm going to call this particular convert.json. I'm to commentate this out. Let me put a breakpoint over here. Okay, in this particular JSON will have the you have got the JSON format using this particular Newton.json, but this Newton.soft.json we have got through the NuGet packages. Okay, you have used the one of the core libraries and you are used the CoreFX core library used from the NuGet package. Okay, so now you understand the main about the CoreFX and core library that you can get from the NuGet packages also. Okay. Let me recap this particular session. Okay. So in this particular session, we have seen like what are the different components we have, like in terms of the core CLR, core FX, .NET standards, and umbrella term, like .NET core CLR, and the .NET packages and the garbage collector. So in the core CLR, like we have seen what are the compilers that we have, like in terms of the RyuJIT compiler, just-in-time compiler, and Roslyn compiler as well. And we also have the core FX base class library. Okay. And we have seen that .NET standard. .NET standards are nothing but like which are have less time to demo this particular .NET standards, but I will get you the next session and I'm going to demo this particular .NET standards as well. .NET standards are nothing but which is compatible with respect to the .NET framework and the .NET Core frameworks as well. Okay, .NET Core and .NET framework as well. Okay, umbrella terms in .NET components. We call this all these ecosystems, web, Windows, and mobile application, everything like we call this as the umbrella term. Okay, command line interface, NuGet packages, garbage collection, and so we have seen some of the core features like the core common platform support, high performance, model lightweight, and advanced CLI, everything like we have seen the side-by-side execution. So these are all the features of the .NET Core. Okay, now let's get started with respect to the .NET evolutions and versions. Like we'll see what are the versions we have different in terms of the .NET framework, in terms of the .NET Core, and in the terms of the C# versions as well, and also the versions with our Visual Studio versions and how it is compatible which particular .NET frameworks and .NET cores as well. So yeah, now let's get started with respect to the session 3 next agenda. Thanks for watching. Thank you.